these Wednesday workshops where we get together in the middle of the week and some of us in the middle of the day to learn more about technology. We're happy that you're with us today and sharing with us. Today we have a very enjoyable, interesting presentation today from JB Burke from the Prescott Computer Club, where it's very dry. And he kind of has a hobby of gathering up interesting websites and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to turn things over to JB, and we're going to learn a lot today about the World Wide Web.
All righty. Well, I'll tell you what, I will start off by sharing a screen. So I will share, let's see here. Hold on one second. Let me get this one here. All right. Can everybody see the clock?
I can see it, so that's everybody.
Yeah. All right. Odd little clock. I don't know where I got that one. Anyway, well, thank you for being here with me. This will be, we're going to move right through this quickly. It'll take only somewhat less than 4 hours to do this presentation. But if I talk fast, maybe I can cut it down a little bit. So let's move on here. Touring the web. Look at there, isn't that nice? I put up the APCUG logo alongside of our Prescott Computer Society. There you go. All right. This one here, probably everybody has seen this. I just thought I would show this one. I found this on the web. A study had shown that nearly 319,000 deaths could have been averted if all adults had gotten vaccinated when the vaccine became available. 319,000 unnecessary deaths because people didn't trust the vaccine. Very unfortunate. That's analysis done by Brown University and Microsoft AI Health. 4 million people got vaccinated in one day at the height of the vaccine campaign, but then it fell off. People said, "Oh no, I'm safe. I've got natural immunity. I've got this and that." And then you end up with 1 million people dead. Unfortunately, that was the way it was. In my state of Arizona, they said it could have been 9,427 preventable deaths. Here's the link to some of these things here. There's a couple of links in there. When I'm done with this, I will make a PDF out of this and send it to Judy, I guess, to distribute, or to, yeah, Judy, I'll send it to Judy. And then you can distribute it to all of those folks online here, all the hundreds of people we've got online here. All right, this one here, I just thought this was kind of, oops, you know what, I realized I've got to do something different. I'm going to stop the share. I always do this. I start the share and I forget to do one thing. So I'm going to do it again. And this time I'm going to click a couple of buttons and then go back to the slideshow, and we'll get going then. I do this every morning for exercise myself in the park here nearby. It's my favorite way of exercising, just to get into the ring and spin like that. Here's one, something we may all remember. Gas station maps, the early days. I can remember times ago, used to go drive around, you go to the gas station and you'd ask for a map of the area, or if you ask for a map of the state or whatever, and they just flip one out and give it to you. Free maps at the gas station was the good old days. These are some of the things you'll find on this site. It's called Map of the Week. Early gas station, early maps. Some interesting illustrations of maps out there. Here's a picture of one. This goes back to probably the 30s here. The automobile road map, Supreme Auto Oil advertisements on them. Of course, they put ads on them, but they're giving it to it for free. Here's another website to add here, to check here, automotive history, first automotive road maps. So there's another resource there on that one. Here's a picture of what one of those maps might have looked like. And here's one here which says, here's the running directions to Buffalo, going from Pittsburgh to Buffalo, starting out, and tells you how many miles to each end of each intersection. Back in the good old days. fact, we didn't have the little phone with the directions on it and things like that. Here's another one here. This map gave you a half-day tour, Philadelphia, Lambertsville, and Trenton. So you could go and take and drive this little section here, a little triangle around, a half-day tour. Back when cars were first becoming really popular and a way to get around, and well before the interstates, things like that. For us that remember those times at the gas station, people born in the 40s have lived in 8 decades, 2 centuries, and 2 millenniums. We had the best music, the fastest cars, drive-in theaters, soda fountains, and happy days. And we're not even that old yet. We're just that cool. So keep in mind, those of us that were born in the 40s, we are on top of the whole heap here. Now, in the 60s, of course, we went to the moon. I thought this was an interesting illustration. Margaret Hamilton, this young lady was the NASA's lead developer for Apollo program, and she's standing next to a stack of all the code she wrote by hand that took us to the moon in 1969. And I think that's a pretty amazing stack of stuff there for this young lady. She's got to be proud of her accomplishment, and she doesn't want to let go of that pile because it'll go right down as soon as she lets go. Here's something that's, in case we ever need to have something that'll take up less space and give us some more room in our house. Look at there, a nice little couch. And if you do the right thing with it, a few easy steps. I just thought this was a really cool product. There's all the steps taken. Let the ladder down. You got to be able to get up to the little bed there. Get rid of the strap. Fix it up a little bit, make it look nice. And you got yourself a bunk bed. Now, we've been familiar with the hide-a-beds for years. You know, you can just roll out the bottom of it and it comes out into a bed, but this is quite different. I don't know where you'd go. This is Luan to Furniture, wherever that is. And he's putting it back together. Unlock it. It's all done, and it's right back down to a sleeper sofa. I just thought that was kind of a cool product I ran across. I don't know where that came from. Here's something that we can all take a look at here. Many of us have Gmail accounts. It's the most popular Gmail by total number of users. Excuse me. Gmail has something called the Inactive Account Manager. It's a way for users to share parts of their account data or notify someone if they've been inactive for a certain period of time. And you can go and set this up. So Inactive Account Manager, what happens to your data if you can't use your account anymore? At some point, most of us, I'm sure not all of us, but most of us will come to an end of email. We will end up no longer being probably functional on the planet. But this is a way to take care of, make sure that your Gmail doesn't fall into the wrong hands. You can specify a time frame after which Google will then be allowed to consider your account active. So if you said, well, 60 days or 30 days or whatever, that's as long as I could imagine not using my Gmail account, then you can designate a trusted contact that Google can share your account details with. And finally, you can tell Google if your inactive account should be deleted. So I've got multiple Gmail accounts, and I think a lot of us have at least one Gmail account. So if you want to have it fixed in such a way that it's not a problem when you cease using Gmail anymore, then do this. Go the same details no, along with these same contact. Google also stresses your designated contact would only receive notification once your account's been inactive for the specified period of time. Here's the article where that came from, and I think that's that's a useful thing to do. Here's one that I found, but if you really want to see inside them, probe their iPhones, probe their phones. You know, the old thing about the aliens doing probes has been around for so long, but he's right. The real way to find out what's going on is to probe the phones. Here's 15 facts about food, sports, and the importance of spell check. there are more public libraries than McDonald's in the United States. Almost seems surprising given how many McDonald's there are. They're not as prominently advertised, but there were in 2014, there were 16,766 public libraries and 14,157 McDonald's restaurants. Broccoli is the only vegetable that's also a flower. The stalk of broccoli is a stem, and all the small green nubs are actually unopened flower buds. So when you're eating broccoli, you're eating flowers. Very romantic. Crackers are worse for your teeth than sugar. Saltine crackers are made of a fermentable and highly processed type of starch. They contain ingredients that wear your teeth down and hurt the enamel. So if you're used to eating crackers, saltines with your soup, you might want to switch to a different kind of cracker. It takes 3,000 cows to supply the NFL with enough leather for a year's supply of footballs. Wilson Sporting Goods needs 35,000 cowhides to manufacture 700,000 regulation footballs for the NFL. That means a single cowhide can make about 20 footballs. So it needs 700,000 cows, 3,000 cows to make those footballs. One more here. There are 18 minutes of total action in a baseball game. I don't watch baseball very often. In fact, I haven't watched baseball for years, but I can see that that's possibly one of the reasons why. 90% of a given game is spent standing. They also found that in the total length of a baseball game, 18 minutes of action. And Michael Phelps has more gold medals than 66 countries. So if you look at all the countries to go to the Olympics, Phelps has 23 gold medals. And the country with the most gold medals, of course, is the good old USA with 1,022. Just some of those random things. Now, Kaspersky, you got some very high marks for reliability and usability as an antivirus. But the Federal Communications Commission has warned that it poses a national security risk. They've added Kaspersky, China Mobile, and China Telecom to the list of companies affected by the Secure and Trusted Communications Act of 2019. Includes companies that are deemed to pose an unacceptable risk. The nice thing here, of course, is that there are plenty of antivirus programs available, so you don't have to go to Kaspersky. It may or may not be a real problem. Kaspersky himself says no. He said he has nothing to do with the Russian government, and he will not allow any of his data to be stolen or anything. But who knows if even he knows whether they're interfering with them. But there's a PC Mag article. There's a link. All these links will be in the PDF file. I mentioned earlier that we have very low water out here in the West. Very tremendous drought going on, the worst drought in history, it's themed. There's some photos that we have that show what the actual situation looks like at Lake Powell, which is a few hours driving from my house here. And Lake Powell is they're even looking at the possibility of just taking it out of function and letting all the water flow through to the east side of the state. But can you see the water here now, the CNN article? Is that visible?
No, it's not.
Okay, then I've got to go and do the other thing here. Oops, hold on. Let me get back to it. I'm going to have to change the share then.
Yep.
Which is giving me a problem for some reason. Share. All right, got that one?
Yes.
Okay. This is an interesting little illustration here On the right-hand side, we see March of 2022, and the left side, June of 2021. Not a very long period of time, but the water has moved that far and just that long. And as you can see here on this white line, that's where the water would be if it was at the full level for Lake Powell. So Lake Powell is in deep trouble at this point. We'll go back to my program if I can find it here. All right, moving along. This is a set of charts I found. I like old things. This is something from around 1900. Many educators advocated the use of objects in training mathematics and the sciences in schools. There's a company called R.O. Evans Company of Chicago, which is my old hometown, published a set of 20 chromolithograph charts for schools. They were designed to apply the object method to the entire subject of practical mathematics. What that means is like so. They put these charts, now these charts were the big flip chart size, go up on a big flip chart in front of the class, illustrating things like the metric system. So the metric system, and here just brings it up a little bit closer, which I think is not a terribly bad idea, because when you can see things illustrated, it kind of brings things to the fore. Here's 1 liter of water, a certain size, and that balances against 1 kilogram of weight and so forth, and just illustrating all these different components of the metric system, weights and measures, liquid measure, dry measure, and so forth. So these are things, and then to this teacher, there was a notes here on each of these to the teacher, telling them how to go about using these. There's bookkeeping, even getting into the bookkeeping thing, where a lot of your students might end up coming out of school and ending up becoming bookkeepers. Printing and writing numbers. Think about that. It shows a 4 printed, a 4 that you might write yourself, Roman numeral, written as 4, and good old cursive. Good old cursive, something that we don't see, not even taught anymore. So that brings up the question, why isn't the US on the metric system? The relationship between the metric system and the US actually goes back to the 18th century. And come right down to it, all countries have either fully adopted or legally sanctioned the International System of Units, or SI. The modern form of the metric system includes the US. So the US has adopted or sanctioned the metric system. Illustration of one of the ways that we have it going on here is, here's a typical ruler where you got inches on one side and millimeters on the other, because we do use both. Here's a little extra article on the side here, 5 things you didn't know about the metric system, but you can look that up later. Why isn't the US on the metric system? Okay, so you can't just turn it on. It was tried in this country to turn it on. There's actually a road in southern Arizona, all the way down, just not far from the border in Arizona, where the road signs are in metric system. Tells you how many kilometers to the next exit, and has signs as to how many kilometers per hour the speed limits are and so forth. That's the only section of a interstate road in the country that's marked like that, just a few miles, and that's in Arizona. So anyway, even France, where it came from, adopted it in fits and starts. And we used both methods here. A football field, of course, is in yards, and many foot races are in meters. Mechanics measure the power of an automobile engine in horsepower, foot-pounds per second, but the same engine is listed as how many liters in displacement. So there's a combination of both the old English measurements and the metric. Air pressure is donated all sorts of ways, pounds per inch, inches of mercury, millibars for air pressure aloft. And if you want to know more about that, here's the article here on How Stuff Works. It's one of my favorite websites there. It's got always good articles on all kinds of good stuff. So just go there for that. Okay, so Here are what are the top 7 apps to make you smarter every day. These are interesting apps that you can get onto your smartphone, either Android or iPhone. It'll give you a daily. I think they all give a daily update. Now, this is kind of, if you got the time to deal with one of these, it's good stuff. I signed up for Refine just to see how one of them works, and I get not only links on my phone every day, but I get a link in my email as well, and it'll give you like 4 or 5 articles with brief descriptions of the article. So like kind of like the Reader's Digest version of the longer article. Some of these articles are quite long, but they give you the gist of it in a short period of time. So that's why it makes you smarter every day. You can read 4 or 5 articles in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and now you're very smart compared to how you were a while ago, even if you were smart to begin with. So there you go. This is 7 apps to make you smarter every day. They're almost all free too. Next time you're afraid to share ideas, remember someone once said in a meeting, let's make a film about a tornado full of sharks. And then that got to be quite popular and make some people a lot of money, Sharknado. Can you imagine? I mean, I'd have thought that was too dumb an idea to bring up myself, but somebody did it and it worked because there are a lot of people that like really dumb movies, I guess. But there you go. Here's a situation where a photographer shot 2 million photos to show the moon's wobble over a month's time. An astrophotographer, he shot over 2 million individual photos and then put them together into a video, showed how the moon appears to dance or wobble in the sky when observed from the Earth over the course of a month. So if you could speed yourself up and watch the moon over a month's time without having to do all kinds of weird things, capture an entire lunation or a lunar day, which occurs over the course of roughly one calendar month, 29.5 Earth days. He paid close attention to observing both the angle and the size of the moon as it changed over the course of that span. And here's what he got. That's the moon's wobble over a month's time, and he shot 2 million photos, so we should appreciate it because it took a lot of time to make 2 million photos. I don't know what else he does, but he did this pretty good. All right. Now here's an article. Now these are not my suggestions. This is the results of an article I found on the internet, and it's somebody else's appreciation of where it's worth visiting and where it is not. So don't get after me for saying that your state is not a good one to visit. But here's what he said: 12 U.S. states that are a total waste of time and 12 actually worth visiting. The best, he says, New York, the grandest city of them all. So New York State, he said, is good. Then he says, skip over Rhode Island. Even for its size, it's boring. Best, Alaska. I've been there several times. It's a great place to visit. You should try to make a trip to Alaska someday if you've never been there. It's really quite an exciting place to be. Then he says, skip over Kansas. That's the quintessential flyover state. I've certainly flown over Kansas a lot more times than I've been there. The only times I've been there, I think, is when I drove through. Best, sunny California. I spent 36 years there for a while, so that was a great place to be. Skip over New Jersey. He said, even the locals prefer other states. The best, everything is bigger and better in Texas. Questionable there, I think. Skip over Idaho. At best, they have the potato. At least they have the potato. Louisiana, great place. New Orleans, got to visit that at least once when it's not being inundated by hurricanes. Skip over Indiana, the empty Hoosier state. I agree with that one. Massachusetts, the spirit of America. Skip over Ohio. Best, Pennsylvania, history epicenter. My neighbors across the street just moved to Pennsylvania. Skip over Georgia. How hot is too hot? Best, Colorado. I've enjoyed visiting Colorado, nice place. Skip over Mississippi, grand old underwhelming South, it says. Best, Michigan. Not only the lakes are great, Oh, we're missing a T there. We don't mean Bria. Skip over Utah, Barren Plains, which is articles right now going on about the Salt Lake. The Great Salt Lake is in danger of drying up. It's been receding in size for quite some time, and it's thought to be an extremely big emergency if it actually dries up. Best Nevada, bright lights and a heck of a party. We're going there next month to see one of the shows at the Bellagio. And skip over New Mexico. You'll wish it was old Mexico, he says. And that's from the Travel Channel. If you want to get more details about why I decided all these things, you can go there. Not the Travel Channel, travel.com. Sorry. Throat is getting dry as a steak. Cybersecurity firms Norton LifeLock and Avast are merging. A couple of years back, Norton and LifeLock merged. Norton, I guess, bought LifeLock or vice versa, so they merged. Now they're merging with Avast. So these companies, and Avast is one of the very large antivirus companies, and of course we hear from them every year, courtesy of the APCUG. Norton will own all of Avast share capital. Avast offers a number of antivirus and security products. They've gotten in trouble a little bit in a couple recent years with some problems with some of their software items, including what's that, CCleaner and so forth. But anyway, that's happening, just to let you know. Now, you may run across these kinds of things. I get these very regularly on one of my emails, not on my Gmail, but I have another email account that I've had for years. And they come along and they'll say things like, you've got to check to update your information. I just wanted to point out here a couple of the key things. Literally, they can't afford to hire someone who speaks English natively because there's always grammatical problems. We start off with CenturyLink with a lowercase l in the heading, so the logo is messed up already. And then we get statements like this: then put to enable with a capital E your service. Doesn't make any sense. So look for that kind of thing. And then CenturyLink and a new line, security information. So they can't put together grammar. Update with a lowercase u, your CenturyLink, now we're up to uppercase. So read these things over when you get them. And as soon as you spot a grammatical error, you can probably just drop right out of it and kill it. But then it says, click here to update your card now. CenturyLink, I don't know why I'd have a card with CenturyLink. CenturyLink was an email and phone. It was an internet and phone. It says, click here. Well, if you hover over that, what you're going to see is cuturl.net. Nothing to do with CenturyLink, as far as I can tell. But you're going to go and hit that, and it'll look like CenturyLink, maybe. Might have more grammatical errors, but it'll surely try to rob your information if you put in a password. So read these things. You are the best weapon in saving yourself on the internet. I could have put in 10 of these from just what I've got saved in the last couple of months. And that's it. And Tokyo. Now, for the videos I've got in this, the videos will not be in the material in the PDF, but there will be the link to the videos because they're literally all on YouTube. But if you go to YouTube, you'll find some more links about that particular presentation, that particular video, and it'll give you some other interesting things. But they do this, and it looks just like that from looking at it up from the street, from street level. So they make this big 3D kind of a thing that looks like there's actual stuff popping out. Very impressive. I don't know if they're doing anything like that in the big cities like New York and Chicago and stuff, but in Tokyo they do. Here's one that's a really good time waster. Not very much time, fortunately, in this case. This is a minimal time waster. Something called the Museum of Endangered Sounds. Somebody thought, well, there's certain sounds that we used to hear all the time, and we should be able to look at it to check those out. So I'm going to go and click on that, and we'll take a look at that. Now, I take it you're not seeing.
Right.
It says Museum of Sounds, right?
Yeah, we don't see it.
Yeah, okay, so I got to go and do a new share. I thought I had this set up so it'll all be on screen one here and then give it to you. Now you see it?
Correct.
Museum of Endangered Sounds. So you get things like, let's see here, a Mac warning.
It's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. It's not my fault, it's not my fault.
Good afternoon. At the tone, Pacific Daylight Time will be 12:38 and 50 seconds.
Remember we used to call time on the phone and it would tell us what time it is so we could set our watches. Movie countdown. Old telephone ringing. So there's just a few of these that are just kind of interesting, sort of, kind of. All right, let's go back to our presentation. All right, that's the Museum of Endangered Sounds. Now here's one. We're hearing an awful lot about banned books all over the country. There are these folks that are showing up at school board meetings and everything and demanding that certain books be banned, generally because they're featuring Black or LGBTQ characters. And so 729 books were challenged last year. Challenging books have become a priority for some government officials. So because that's happening, naturally, there are people who are attempting to figure out a way to make sure that doesn't really affect everybody in the same way. So there are a number of things that have happened here. There's one organization called Books Unbanned. It's part of the Brooklyn Public Library. They've launched this website, a teen-led initiative catering to young readers across the country. So people aged 13 to 21 can apply for a free digital library card. It's free to people in New York State, and currently it's free to other states as well. And so then you can use that library card and you can get in and read those books that are being banned, possibly by some of the more right-leaning school boards from the schools. COM Library, the College of Mainland, a public college in Texas City, Texas, has a dedicated page for banned books. Includes a list of frequently banned books that we've read for free on Google Books and other sites. So there are many ways around that. Here's another one. It's called Mini Books. Catalog of thousands of free ebooks. You can access a variety of banned books, including political cornerstones like Candide and Voltaire's The Rights of Man, by Candide, and The Rights of Man by Thomas Paine. Free to sign up and download books of your choice. So other free e-libraries, Libby is a program that's used by many public libraries to allow you to access books from those libraries. Hoopla allows access to your local public library for free. And if you just go to this Mashable site here, this is another good site for things in general. If you want to put that on your list of websites, just go there once in a while and you'll find some very interesting articles, including this one called Read Banned Books Access. Here's something that's completely unrelated to that. Relive the golden age of aimless channel searching with era appropriate digital TV stations. It's called My Retro TVs, as programs from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or aughts. The site presents an image of one of several big clunky old TVs alongside a series of toggles that will let you go to those particular ones. It looks like this, kind of on the screen, but let's go and take a look at it in real life. So if I click on that one, and a new share takes me to here. All right. So here's the front page of it. This lady sitting and watching her console TV. Remember those good old things there? So I'm gonna cut down here. Let's go to the, let's say the 60s, just for the heck of it. And so here's the 60s TV. So what if we said that we wanted to watch, well, all of these are all checked right now. We can uncheck some of them. And we check none. Well, let's go and we're going to see movies. And then we'll click on the button. Let's, oh, gotta hit the power button.
In blazing headlines and sensational trials, she faced the world as Madam X.
Or we can go to commercials.
Target for mosquitoes. Target for mosquitoes. Now, stop mosquitoes from biting. Use Foam Type Off, the mosquito repellent kids like, because Off smells nice, Off feels nice, and Off really works. Here's proof.
So I suspect that probably would not be a good product these days. If it smells good, it's probably not good for us. All right, back to the presentation. Anyway, you could spend hours going through all the snippets of stuff they have on that website to see what the shows were looking like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so forth. So this is from a website called avclub.com, My Retro TV's Virtual TV Stations. So there you go. Here's a gentleman says, I read that a solar flare could wipe out all electronics, so I'm printing out the internet just in case. And you see behind them stacks and stacks of paper. I think it'll take a while to print out the internet at this point, given there are trillions of websites. Later news on this, Germany has seized the world's largest, longest serving dark web market. Now, for those of you who may have been going out on the dark web using what is it called? The website, the browser for that you go out on the dark web and buy things on these websites. This one had taken in 5.2 billion in crypto since 2015, had 17 million user accounts. And I suspect that probably if you saw the page of it, it would look like something like Amazon. You'd click on something and it would let you go in and order it and have it delivered. But it was selling illegal things. It was selling guns and drugs and all kinds of nasty stuff that shouldn't be purchased on the internet. So that was taken down by the German police. Here's a website, Engadget, another good website. Hydra dark web was taken down. So they collected all that money out of the account and put it all to sleep. Here's one that's describing how many humans have ever existed, according to the researchers. Now, it's tricky. It's tricky to come up with these numbers because we don't have a list. I mean, we don't have birth records going back 192,000 years. They're estimating that 109 billion people have lived and died over the course of 192,000 years. 109 billion. That's 7% of all humans who ever lived are alive today, 7%. This means for every person alive today, there are approximately 14 people who are no longer with us. So our ancestors and their ancestors, and as back as far as 192,000 years, is the estimate they worked on here. They had to decide a firm starting date. Evolution is a gradual process, and I've been reading a couple of articles lately about the Denisovans and various other pre-human groups that have been come and gone over the years, but they figure 192,000 before the Common Era, before now, as the cutoff for when actual humans were about the planet. They assumed about 30,000 humans lived then, and estimated, like I said, 109 billion since then. So if you take a look at a chart of the world population, going back to those 109,000 years ago, pretty flat, because 30,000 people don't quite multiply the way they're multiplying now. Going back 4,000 years, 2,000 years, 1 CE, 1 BC, so to speak. In 8,000, the population was about 5 million, similar to the population of Boston. By 1 BC, the world population stood at approximately 300 million, with most of them living in Asia. It wasn't until about 1800 that the living human population reached the 1 billion mark. And as you can see, what's happened since then, we're up at 7 billion era now. So the population trend was quite steep toward the end here. And then they had a chart on there, and I couldn't put this all on one to have it visible, but a chart that's got a top and a bottom like a sand dial here. Each grain of sand represents 10 million people. 140 million children are born every year, so 14 grains of sand are introduced every year. And you are here, but these 795 grains represent the 7.95 billion people alive today. 60 million people die every year. About 109 billion people have lived and died, and this going down through the sand that's come down into the bottom of the device here. Socrates was killed in 399 BCE, lies about here. Half the dead bodies are the bodies of children, because so many children died in the old days in childbirth and shortly thereafter. The first agriculturists lie here. Only about 9 billion people lived before the agricultural revolution. So that's an interesting website. There's a lot of detail out on that website to look at. All right, moving along to something completely unrelated. Owning and driving an auto just isn't what it used to be. I just went and pulled up a few symbols of photos of automobiles just to show you what some of the crazy things that people have put together, although this is not crazy here. This is just a normal old photo. I'd like to have this car. That'd be fun to drive around town. But here are some things that you might not have thought of. This is from a Popular Mechanics or Popular Science. The scourge of wheel ants. This has to be back in the 30s, I imagine. Wheels can be thrown out of balance by a buildup of wheel ants. Never heard of that. Protect your car's smooth ride with weekly application of automotive grade insecticide. Here it says spray .3, Department of Transportation 3 insecticide. So at this time in history, the U.S. Department of Transportation was authorizing insecticide for your wheels. So don't know why ants would have been going after your wheels, but that was that was apparently going on. The scourge of wheel ants. Here's something that we remember kids doing back in the 40s, probably lying on the back windowsill, sleeping while the car is in motion. Quite different from the the current trend of making sure everybody is nicely, firmly locked down so they don't get killed when there's a minor accident. Another one here, Nash thought of the children too in the world's finest travel car. Seat folds right down so the kid can lie there. Notice no seat belts. This is before shoulder straps, no seat belts. any accident that occurred there would be possibly fatal to multiple people in this car. Now here's one a little bit later, Rambler. He'll be in kindergarten when her Rambler needs its first chassis lubrication. I added to it, he'll be in kindergarten if he lives, but at least there's seat belts here. We've got seat belts holding them both down. So this was a bit later. Keep baby safe with the Lullababy car hammock. Safest, most comfortable car bed ever made. $6.95. String it across the back seat between those little hooks where you hang your laundry. Safest car bed. Here's a good one. Use your car's exhaust to clean the upholstery. Use the exhaust gas of the automobile to clean the upholstery. So they have a device here that you put on the exhaust. The exhaust goes out, but it creates a vacuum, and you got a hose for the vacuum cleaner. Collected by a nozzle, the dust and dirt are drawn through the hose and expelled into the air at the rear of the car. It is made in 3 models for cars of different size. So you can get yourself a nice hose there to hook onto your exhaust, which would be something that might be kind of questionable as to whether you'd really want to do that. An aluminum attachment fastened to the exhaust pipe. So I don't think I'd really want to do that myself, but this lady is having a fine time cleaning the upholstery on her car door. And then I remember back in the 60s, in the 50s actually, things that you'd add on to your car to make it cooler. In this case, Flare-O-Flame pipe attachment gives your car that jet look. It only works while the car is in motion, because otherwise it doesn't do anything, I guess. Gives your car a longer appearance, fluorescent by night for added safety. The Flare-O-Flame just attaches to your exhaust pipe, and I have a feeling it's just red stuff hanging down behind your car. I don't know. But here's one here, Popular Science, January 1963. Disposing of used engine oil can be a problem. Solution, dig a hole in the ground with a post hole digger, fill it with fine gravel, then pour in the oil. It will be absorbed into the ground before your next oil change. Cover the spot with soil. So this is not necessarily an environmentally safe way of getting rid of your oil, I think. If everybody was doing this, there'd be a lot of polluted soil all over the world. Just pour in the oil and let it go into the ground. Good old pop sci. All right. And then finally, this ad from Pontiac Star Chief. Spread your legs. What is there to say? I don't know that they really thought about the phrase there. Extend your legs maybe, or spread out, but spread your legs doesn't work all that well, I think. How'd you like to work there? This is Amazon 2-day delivery in Southeast Asia. Drop the screwdriver. So like it says, not everyone works in an office. There's a lot of jobs that I sure wouldn't want to have. That guy there had a little fun though. He's able to split that giant rock. Here's an article that talks about what the oldest business in every US state is. You'll be able to find your own state in there by going to this link on here to imgur.com gallery, the oldest business in every state. And showing this kind of this overall map shows by the colors here where the how old the oldest businesses are. You can see that we're in the lighter area here, 1876 or later. But the oldest business, if you go to number 1, is Virginia. And then I'm skipping all the ones in between, but that was a farm founded in 1613, the Shirley Plantation, considered the oldest business in the US. But you get down to the very bottom of the list, and Arizona falls in number 47 with the Palace Restaurant and Saloon, place that I've frequented a number of times. Saloon was allegedly a favorite of Wyatt and Virgil Earp, as well as their friend Doc Holliday. So it's a historic saloon here in Prescott. So if you ever decide to travel out west and get into this area, you'll get to Prescott, get to the Palace Saloon in Prescott, and you'll have a good time there. It's a great place and a lot of history behind that. Why it's a really bad idea to keep sharing your streaming passwords. Many of us have accounts with Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney, and so forth. There's all these different online services for videos. And there's a tendency to share your password with family members and friends. I know I've got some passwords that are shared in that area, but I'm aware of what the problems are. But I'll show you what the problems are that a lot of people don't think about. People are terrible at producing strong passwords, and even worse at using unique ones. Millions of people use the same password for everything from Gmail and Facebook to banking apps and online shopping. Many people use the same password for all their streaming platforms. So by sharing your streaming platform, your streaming subscription with family or friends, it might go on from there. So if you share it with a friend, they might pass it on to one of their friends, and they pass it on to one of their friends. And here's what some of the problems are. Why it's a bad idea. What other accounts have the same password as your shared streaming accounts? Through a survey Kim Commando did, other streaming services, 67%. So they use the same password for multiple streaming services. Social media, so it could be Facebook or something. Personal email. Online retailers, that's a dangerous one. Banking, very nasty. And work, using a work account password. So people are sharing their passwords for these accounts, but the same password is used for other stuff, which makes you vulnerable to people coming in and getting access to your information. Why and how we share. Here's the platforms most likely mooched. Netflix, 84%, Hulu, 57%, Disney, Prime, HBO Max. People with these accounts share their passwords with other people. There's been a lot about Netflix lately losing couple of 100,000 accounts, and they're trying to smash down on those people sharing their accounts. How do you access and pay for the streaming services? 64% I pay for this subscription and have sole access. So about 2/3 don't share it. I don't pay, but I have access. I pay for this, that's 55%. I pay for this subscription and give others access, 38%. 14%, I split the cost with another user. So people are actually getting together and buying say a Netflix account and paying for it jointly. Losses you face when sharing account. Someone has shared my password without my knowledge. 46% of the people that were questioned said that the password had been shared without their knowledge. Some people have had their password changed. So you share your password with someone, then they change the password and you can't get into your own material. Someone has shared my password with strangers, gained access to and used my credit card without my knowledge. So you have a lot of vulnerability if you're sharing a Netflix account or a Amazon Prime account. What you need to do is to make sure that that password is only for that account and not for anything else. That way, at least someone can't get into your other accounts with that password. They can still pass it on to someone else and have your password changed without your knowledge. So it's a dangerous thing to do. Anyway, so that is the link to that is in that article as well. Now here's a guy, cool guy, and I suppose, I don't know where he is, but it's a Ford Panda article. I'm guessing he's probably in New York. He stands around with these signs. He makes up these signs and just stands around with signs making obvious points. Red onions are clearly purple. He just wants you to know, we need more time between Friday and Monday. And one here that I thought was especially good, my arms hurt. He's telling you that his arms are hurting because he's holding up the sign. What do women want? Gas money. I learned cursive for absolutely no reason. Remember, we had that sign that was used in some of those classes back in 1900 era, showing how to write in cursive. He says he learned cursive for absolutely no reason because there's nobody using it now. In 1903, the New York Times predicted that airplanes would take 10 million years to develop. It wasn't New York Times predicting it, it was a professor, Professor Manley, undertook to sprout the ab initio. He said from 1 million to 10 million years, and this was in 1903. It would take from 1 to 10 million years for manned flight to ever develop. No doubt the problem is attraction for those in interest, but to the ordinary man, it would seem as if the effort might be employed more profitably doing something else. Of course, that was not the case in 1903. 1901, the U.S. Navy called flight a vain fantasy. George W. Melville, engineer-in-chief of the U.S. Navy. 1910, famed astronomer William Pickering said flight is only for rich people. 1955, space travel is utter bilge. Britain's astronomer to the court. 1960s moonshot, Barry Goldwater said it was a big waste at $100 a plate dinner. So sometimes people make predictions like that. Of course, I mean, 1903, it wasn't that long before the Wright brothers were making their first flight. And this guy says 1 million to 10 million years. He was off by a fair amount there. This was a website that gave us 101 historical facts most people don't know, including 20 interesting facts about the Civil War you might not know. So if we go to one of those, just check it out. And I will go to New Share, and we'll go to there. 20 interesting facts about the Civil War you might not know. Capital C, lowercase w. Civil War is any war fought between people. There have been many civil wars throughout history. The United States, the American Civil War is known simply as the Civil War with capital C, capital W. After Lincoln's election, 7 states seceded before his inauguration. So anyway, it goes on like this for all these various ones. 37 interesting facts about the atomic bomb. 10 interesting facts about Pearl Harbor. 38 interesting facts about D-Day you might not know. 10 interesting facts about Christopher Columbus. I visited a site down in southern Arizona here, which is one of the old ICBM sites. And while I was there, I picked up a couple of books. And one was a sort of the operation manual for the ICBM. And the other one was a book entitled How to Photograph an Atomic Detonation, Atomic Bomb. And it has all various pictures of various bomb tests that took place back in the 50s and 60s. And so I presented that to our camera club here and said, here's a good how-to manual for your photography. 10 interesting facts about World War II and American Revolution, and 301 facts about history you might not know. So if you got some interest in history, go to this flipboard.com, all about facts, and you'll pick up all of these interesting things that you can go one at a time and check through them, spend some time, learn some new things that you might not have known. Now here's I mentioned that we're in a drought out here in the West. Pine Strawberry is a small town area in northern Arizona here, northeastern Arizona. And this was an article on the 12 News down in the valley, and I'll show you what this looks like here. But this was a pretty scary thing for the people in that community.
As Arizona's drought continues, some cities and towns are starting to see their water supply threatened. In some cases, it's drying up completely. In Pine and Strawberry, wells are running dry and the infrastructure is failing.
Team 12's William Pitts talked to people who stand to lose everything as their town tries to find solutions in our ongoing series, Running Dry.
Through those trees that way.
Christy Meixel's dream house should be there at the end of the cul-de-sac.
We have some land that we wanted to build on.
And how's that going?
We're not able to build.
They can't because there's no water for the house. They can't even finish the road.
The kids came to us and wanted to move up here. So we decided, let's sell our house in Gilbert, and with that money, we'll come up here and build our dream home. We've tried the well. We're told that we sit on a rock here. We do have a well that's down 750 feet with no luck.
And there's no way to patch into the Pine Strawberry water system. They're not allowing any new hookups because the water district doesn't have enough water to go around already. A few streets over, William Green thought he was safe.
There's a water tank up there.
A water tank that served William Green for 6 years, until it didn't.
Well, we turned on the tap, no water, and we thought something must be wrong with the water line.
The line was fine. The well had run dry.
We have snowpack here in the winter. We have the monsoon rains. Never ever thought. I mean, if we ever thought that, we certainly wouldn't have moved here.
Because without water. Which is what led a good portion of the town to a church gym at 9 a.m. in March to hear how bad it really is.
We do have our hands out for money, grants, and forgivable loans. That's what we're here today asking for.
The Pine Strawberry Water Improvement District is basically the water company here. Some people have their own wells, others use the district's water, but it all comes from the same place, the ground. And out of 38 wells, only 14 of them work now. The district says the pipes are so old they leak 33 million gallons of water a year.
It was not put in right. So over the years, and you have to remember that, what is this system? It's 60 years old.
And it's not just drinking water or toilets. This area has burned many times and come dangerously close to town.
And of course, we all know about the fire potential. What happened last year? We had to evacuate.
All we can do is just serve the homes. We don't have, you see fire hydrants, but they don't work very well.
The district needs more than $130 million just to bring the water system up to standard. And it needs to be money they don't have to pay back because they've borrowed as much as they can. But more than a month later, they still haven't found anything.
Well, this is like all we got now. And we worked all our lives for this. And now it's not worth anything. We don't know where to go or where we can go.
William Green can't hook up to the water system either, even though the water line is already on his property. But he still has the house, and he's probably going to have to truck in water.
We don't even think about this anymore. This is totally put on hold.
Christy Meixel, though, doesn't even have that. She's living in a small cabin with her 3 kids and only a hope of her dream home.
We're good. We changed our plans a little bit. So now we're on the 4-year plan instead of the 1-year plan.
There's no happy ending to this story, not yet anyway. The water district doesn't know where the money will come from. The only good news, people in these towns are paying attention and know they need help.
And I'm hoping this is a moment that people realize, wow, as a small town, let's come together and see how we can all help.
William Pitts, 12 News.
So there's just an interesting little insight into one of the towns in Arizona. As the groundwater recedes, excuse me, I don't know if you heard me at the beginning, but I've got allergies going on that are keeping me from speaking well and breathing well and all that kind of good stuff.
As Arizona.
Anyway, moving along. Also apropos to the current situation, this gentleman says, since I can't afford a car anymore, I've noticed I don't actually need to go to like 80% of the places I thought I needed to go. And I think a lot of people with the gas prices being as high as they are starting to look a little more closely at whether they just pop off and do quick trips for no real reason. If you're using Windows, which I assume a lot of you are, Windows cut and paste is an interesting thing we can use. We use it all the time for copying between websites and documents and so forth. After you highlight the text, using Control-C or right-click and copy is a way to get it copied. But then instead of using Control-V to paste it, if you press Windows, the Windows key plus V, it goes to the clipboard history menu. This lists up to 25 of the most recent things you copied. So just built within Windows, if you wanted to go back and pick up something you copied 10 minutes, 20 minutes ago, you can go back in to do that because it's on your history, on your Windows history. First, you have to go to Settings, System, and choose Clipboard, and make sure Clipboard History is toggled to On. Do that one little thing, and you've got the clipboard history, and it is saving your clipboard items. And you can pin frequently used items. So if you have something that you want to paste frequently, go into the clipboard history and just go to the menu, which is a little 3-dot menu on that next to an individual item, and click on pin, and it'll keep it for you for a long time. So Tech Radar, another good website, tells you how to do that. So there's the link for Tech Radar. There's a cognitive reflection test here. It's a short IQ test. Now, this is something that you can all take a look at. I'll just go through these slowly. The first question is, a bat and a ball cost $1.10 in total. That's a very inexpensive bat and ball, but they cost $1.10 total. The bat cost $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? So raise your hand when you figured it out. How much does the ball cost if the bat costs $1 more than the ball, and it's $1.10 total? All right. So the answer is the ball costs 5 cents. So the bat cost $1.05, the ball costs 5 cents. So that bat cost $1 more than the ball. Question number 2. If it takes 5 machines 5 minutes to make 5 widgets, how long does it take 100 machines to make 100 widgets? 5 machines, 5 minutes to make 5 widgets. How long will it take 100 machines to make 100 widgets? And the answer is 5 minutes, because each machine is making 1 widget every 5 minutes. There you go. And then number 3, in a lake, there's a patch of lily pads. Every day the patch doubles in size. If it takes 48 days for the patch to cover the entire lake, how long will it take for the patch to cover half the lake? All right. Since it's doubling in size every day, that means that it would take 47 days to cover half the lake, because it doubles in size each day. So the next day, it would be the whole lake. So 48 days for the whole lake. And there's the link from the Salisbury Journal in the UK. So you can use that to talk to your friends and show them how smart you are and how you got all the right answers. Okay, now here's for those of you who are retired, which I think is most of us. How can you spend retirement living on a cruise ship, and how much does it cost? There's a company called Storylines behind a ship that's being built for luxury community style living at sea. There's 547 living units, all the way from studio apartments to multi-bedroom apartments and 2-story penthouses. Each one is fully furnished, including a TV and stereo and so forth. Some apartments have private balconies. The ship is called The Narrative. We have 20 dining options, bars, 3 swimming pools, bowling alley, a movie theater, microbrewery, and a library with 10,000 books. grow its own produce, state-of-the-art wellness facility, and so forth. Be staffed with doctors, nutritionists, psychotherapists, and so forth, physiotherapists. The pharmacy, post office, feature guest lecturers, local things, and so forth. Unit prices beginning at $400,000 go up to $8 million. You're also purchasing the unit for the life of the ship, but it also comes with a perpetuity cost. That means your purchase will roll over to a new ship in the future without any additional purchase required. And if you're not interested in a long-term commitment, you can go a year, 2 years, and 5-year lease. After you purchase a unit, there's a yearly living fee, which covers miscellaneous expenses like food and maintenance. The living fees run from $65,000 to $200,000 annually. And they're predicting the units will sell out by the end of 2022. So if you're interested in doing this, you need to get right on it. So you'll have just a short period of time to get out there. It's on track to make its maiden voyage in late 2024. And the itinerary will cover 6 continents over 1,000 days, spending an average of 3 to 5 days in each port. You can find a sample itinerary on the website, and that's from the website Travel Awaits. So this is a cruise ship there's been a lot lately about people who have decided to retire on cruise ships and just keep booking itineraries one after the other. But here's a ship that's going to be specifically just for that you book it for your life practically, or for 5 years or whatever, and might be a nice way to live. Here's a speed bump cartoon. First, you'll need to tell me the 6-digit verification code I just sent to a lamp back at your house. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Verification code for the magic lantern. You're not going to get your wishes unless you got the code. 30 interesting maps that might change your perspective. A good map is worth 1,000 words. There's a social media project called A Map a Day. And this is from a website called Board Panda. A lot of interesting stuff out there, but just a couple of the maps. First one I picked up on was this one, a map that illustrates geography terms. Mountain, fjord, glacier, volcano, butte, plateau, desert, mesa. We've got a lot of these around here, mesas and canyons and buttes and desert and so forth, and then all these other terms. So there's somebody put together a map of no place in particular, but of things. Here's a map. It's a land use comparison of a typical European city and a North American city. In Europe, more multi-story houses out here, but more stuff here. In the US, more density in the center of the city. The city isn't spread out as much in the center. Closeness over time. Best friend and from childhood, best friend from college. Coming together and then going back apart. Siblings, parents, first love, and so forth. Friend with benefits. One night stand. Therapist. Your dog. So closeness over time. Here's one that's cause of death, reality versus Google versus media. CDC cause of death in the USA. This is what the actual cause of death is. Heart disease and cancer, the 2 big ones. Lower respiratory disease, automobile crashes, stroke, and so forth. Suicide and overdose down the bottom here. What Google search terms, this is what people search for on Google. Heart disease, not very much. People don't pay much attention to heart disease searches. A lot of searches for cancer. Few for lower respiratory, a lot of searches for automobile crashes, more than there really are. Diabetes is a big one. Suicide versus how many actual suicides take place. And then New York Times and Guardian headlines, which causes are in the media? Heart disease, not much. Cancer, quite a lot. But suicide, homicide, and terrorism loom big in the headlines. And we all are aware of that every day. Now here's one here. KitchenAid releases new 80-pound stainless steel block for taking up counter space. We have a kitchen with quite a lot of counter space, but you wouldn't know it by looking at it because most of it is taken up with things. All kinds of appliances, all kinds of various things on the counter. And so why not just come out with something just for taking up the counter space? Oh well. Here's one you got to look closely. Sea lion coming up here. This is a resort somewhere. That guy is just wandering up the steps, going past the restaurant. Up to the pool. I don't know if he's done this before, but he seems to know the route pretty well. Right into the water. Good underwater swimmer. There's a guy sitting on a chair, casually relaxing. Grabs his towel. Sea lion may have done that before, but he surely seemed to know the route and he knew where he wanted to go, and he got his favorite chair and didn't even have to pay for the privilege. So thought that was kind of nice. Here's an astronomer's mind-blowing animation to show the true scale of our solar system. There's a dwarf planets and the moon, and then you got Earth and Venus and Mars and Mercury, showing how they rotate. Now we get up to Uranus and Neptune. Uranus, you notice, is rotating in a different direction. And then we get up to Jupiter and Saturn, and things are starting to make Earth look pretty small in comparison. And then you put them all in front of the sun, and you realize that they're all pretty small compared to the sun. There's not even a particularly big star. Just a little perspective to show us where we are. That little dot down there, that's us. Tiny little thing there. And this page was intentionally left blank. I worked for IBM for 32 years, and we ran into this all the time on the documents we'd get. There'd be a big manual about some product, and if they left a page blank, they wanted to make sure you knew it wasn't an accident, that it wasn't bad print. So I just left it there. So next is the end. So that's what I've got here in the way of a presentation. So I've seemed to have ended it about now. So I will now turn it back over to headquarters, and I will stop my share. All right.
And I turn it over to Judy, and all I can say is I can't wait for the follow-up, which I'll get because my name is registered in. A lot of great links to go check out and spend some time, JB. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
And my cats thought it was pretty funny. I'm laughing hysterically at some of your cartoons, etc. They are so cool. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I have a question. When you had that list of 7 things new every day, the question is the TED app the same as TED Talks?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure. I think these are all things that condense material. So the TED Talks would be the whole presentation, and these are condensation. So they give you 10, 15-minute little snippets of it, like I said, like a new what do you call it, the old Reader's Digest condensed version of the program. They go through and give you the main ideas. So these are things that just kind of condense it down so you can get smart faster. You know, you don't want to spend all your life getting smart. You just want to be able to get smart pretty quick and then get on with other things, like, you know, go have some dessert or something, you know. So that's all I know about that.
Okay, could you go, George Bowden from the Victoria Group in Canada put in one of his favorite websites. Could you go take a journey out to the web again at Darwin, DARWIN awards.
Oh yeah, okay, hold on a second.
.com.
All right, I will do a screen share, and we will go to All right, Darwin Awards.
I like the wine truck.
Yeah, Pinot Noir. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, my last presentation, I had a picture of the one the guy said that my doctor told me I only have one beer a day, and it showed he's driving along, and the truck in front of him is a Heineken truck, and it's one of these big tank trucks, and the tank was painted like a Heineken beer can. So he figured one a day. Wine for the road. Okay, one bottle of wine is not enough to quench his thirst, so we go to there. One bottle of wine is not enough. Yeah, this is a good one. I can put this into a future. I'll put this into one of my futures. What I do is I go to save it in my special topics folder. All right, so I've got that saved now. Yes, anything else? What else do we have?
That's it. I mean, that was just fun. I have attended one of your others that you have given like this, and you had a whole thing on electricity. And I thought to myself, oh, why am I here? You know, and it was one of the most interesting presentations. And I learned so much about electricity that I really didn't know I wanted to know or needed to know.
Uh-huh.
And in my head, I have referred to it many times in various situations, and it was just so cool. But I thought, electricity, come on.
Well, I find all kinds of things interesting. So some of them are functional. Some of them are like the Windows copy and paste thing, where you can save the copies into the library and reuse them, or have function. And then other ones, like little cartoons, are just kind of sometimes raising an issue that's kind of a true thing, like the magic lantern, where you had to have the six-digit code from your other lantern to get access to the to your wishes. You know, just silly things. Mm-hmm. But I do both. Things that interest me, and a lot of astronomy kind of stuff, you know, and astrology, not astrology, but astro things to do like with the solar system and so forth. That's some of my interests. So yeah, you never know. You might learn something from one of my things, or you never know.
Oh, I know. I learned a lot today, but I mean, it's fun, and you've taken the time to do this, and we just zipped right along. And if I would do something like this, I'd get distracted and do a deep dive. And
well, I do that on some of them, but some of them I just save them, and I don't really get into the details until I'm putting together the presentation material. And so I just you know, I have them saved and put away for later. And then once I get around to putting together, I do one of these 5 times a year, actually every other month, but skip one of them. So five of these a year that I put together, roughly an hour and a half, 2 hours each. And so it ends up being a lot of material in my folder saved up there. So anyway, that's it.
And
Any other questions?
What folder are you saving it in?
What's it called? The Evernote.
Oh, you got it in Evernote. Yeah. See, yeah. I save stuff in my Edge collections.
Yeah. I've got something saved in Pocket on Firefox as well. Pocket is an equivalent to the Edge function. Pocket on Firefox. I haven't sold myself on Edge yet, so I'm doing Firefox, which I like.
Very good.
Any other questions come up? Or...
Does anybody else have a favorite website that you would like us to take a look at? Put it in the chat box.
And we are open for open discussions. If you have something you'd like to share and tell JB about, or ask JB, you can go down to your reactions and hit your raise hand button. So we'll see you come to the top of the list, and then we can call on you to share. Yes.
Yes, I've had a doctor that I've asked permission to go to like Europe, and I said, I need to drink beer once in a while. And they said, that's fine, but you gotta limit your beer. If you're going at fest time in Germany, we don't recommend you partake of the large mug of beer all the time.
Yep. Yep. Because they do have some big mugs in Germany. I know that. I've seen some, especially the videos of the Oktoberfest, where the ladies are walking around with all these mugs. They got to be strong gals carrying those, but those are huge mugs. Yeah, look very, very tasty. Looks very tasty. I'm reading things recently. I've been reading a book that was set in the year 1737, I think, 1787. And beer was one of the things you would normally drink instead of water because the water wasn't safe. One good way to get dead was to drink the water, so you drink beer or wine. I have a feeling it had to be somewhat less strong beer than what we see at this point in time. It'd be fairly mild if you're going to be drinking it as a regular thing.
I sent you a couple of links, JB.
Okay. All right, let's see here. There's all right, can you see that share?
Yes.
That's a YouTube. I do not know what's in this video.
When we show models or pictures of the planets, we usually show all of the planets at the same time. But with the real planets, that's very hard to do because the real planets have a lot of space between them. No, I'm not kidding. I mean, a lot of space. A lot of space.
Ah, okay, somebody illustrating the distance between planets. So that's a cute little one there.
Yeah, that's Bill Nye.
Yeah, I will save that just for the heck of it. All right, I've got that clip to save in my Evernote. It's low resolution. I'll have to check and see if there's a higher resolution version of it. Some of these older ones, there's not. I use something called 4K Video Downloader, which is a free app that lets you download videos. And if you find one on YouTube that you like to have downloaded and use it directly in your presentation, you can copy the link from YouTube and plug it into 4K Video Downloader, and it will then tell you how many different versions of the video are available. And in some cases, there will be 4, 5, 6, 8 videos available of different resolutions. I usually go for 720p, which is a high resolution, but not the highest. 1080, sometimes it's 4K, but I usually just use 720, which is a good one for using a presentation. I've got my internet speed is 300 megabit download and 30 megabit. I'm sorry, is that right? Yes, 300 megabit download and 30 megabit upload. So that's plenty good for a 720p video. I think the videos came across pretty clear today, did they? Did anybody
Yes.
have any problem seeing the videos?
Nope,
Okay.
they were crystal.
Okay, very good. Now, so this one, like I said, this is a fairly low resolution here. I would look and see if I could find a higher resolution of that video. And then if I was to use that, I would try to get up to 720p at least.
Cool.
Let's see, what else do we have here? Any other?
Mentalfloss.com.
Mental Floss. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, Mental Floss. Used to publish a magazine, which I subscribed to. It was a good magazine. They'd have all kinds of interesting articles, but then, of course, like all other magazines, they were having trouble maintaining themselves financially. So they went to just a website version. And I get an email regularly from them. I'm signed up for their email because I had the subscription for the magazine. So I get all kinds of interesting articles. So here's a 15 best-selling book series of all times. This marriage logic puzzle stumps over 70% of people, whatever that is. How often should you clean your ears? And things like that. So amazing fact generator. Let's see, it doesn't have a fact generator at this point for some reason. Looks like the amazing fact generator is not working right now. Anyway, that is a good website. Yes, I agree with that. I've used that one in the past. Like I said, I get the email each month and I pick out articles on that website that I like, and I'll use those.
Openculture.com.
Open Culture. All right. Oh yes, I've run into this one before as well. Yes, I've got this on my, I think probably on one of my drop-down menus. I've got news sites and I've got board sites and more board sites. So I think it's on one of those already. Yeah, there's a number of sites like I say, I've got all these different ones that I can call upon for various things. How stuff works, the most popular talks of all time and TED Talks. Information is beautiful. There's another one that's all kinds of interesting maps and things. So I've got tons of these that I've been using over time. I've accumulated this. I accumulate them because I usually eat lunch about noon. That's usually my first meal of the day. I'll eat lunch about noon, and I will use my little tablet, and I'll use something, and I'll go into a website called Flipboard, and I'll read through Flipboard, and then also I'll look at Google News on my Pixel phone, and I get articles there. And so I have articles set up to the sorts of things that I like to have. So I get, by the time the end of the day comes, I'll have 3 or 4 or 5 new things every day usually. So by the time the 2-month period between my presentations comes around, I'll have way more material than I can use. And I put together stuff like this.
Cool.
Another board site here. Let's see, what's another board site that I can do would be, let's see, Metal Floss was down there already. Let's see, space weather. What's up in space? Never miss another geomagnetic storm. The sun. So you got space news. I mentioned, let's see, let's go back and let that one fill up. Some of these websites are slow despite my fast. So if you got a website that takes a long time, it may not be your own web speed. Here's one, Mashable. I mentioned this one because one of the things I had was from Mashable. Instagram seems to have completely stopped caring about its users. Ms. Marvel, everything you need to know about the new series coming up called Ms. Marvel. Adam Sandler tells a glorious story about Bruce Springsteen getting his name wrong. So interesting stuff out there. There's tons of these that you can get. If you go firing around, I've done some presentations where I've just given lists of these websites where you can just go and pick these up and spend a lot of time with them. In fact,
how about publicradiofan.com?
Public Radio Fan. There's a number of ways to get into radio stations. This is one of those now.
Oh, look at there.
Yeah, it's a add-on to Firefox, which warns me if there's no HTTPS, which is the secure version. In some cases, that doesn't make a lot of difference. In this case, they're not up to speed on having their website secured.
Get that in Google also.
Yeah, I know there's other websites that have that. So yeah, here's radio sites. One of the things I've used in the past too, and I'm not sure where to find it right now, is an add-on to Google Earth. where you can spin the globe around on the screen, and there are little marks where radio stations all over the world exist. And each one of them you can click on and hear what's being played at that moment on that station anywhere in the world. Now these are public radio, and we've got public radio station here. I always used to listen to KQED in San Francisco, but KNAU is the station in our town, in our area here. And because of the fact that it's up in Flagstaff and we're down in Prescott, which is 80 miles away, and the station that we've got to listen to is a 10-watt station. It's a little tenuous, but in the wintertime, if there gets to be snow, well, you get up to about 3 inches of snow, the station goes off the air because it's probably got a 40-year-old 10-watt transmitter out in the forest somewhere. So it takes a little while to get back to it, but I can always go online and pick up one of these. So any one of these you could pick up and play that station anywhere in the country. There are multiple different websites that have radio stations listed. So if you go out and do a Google search on, if we just said, let's see, radio stations, we'll come up with here, Prescott Chamber of Commerce has that one, but top 10 best radio stations in Prescott, iHeart Radio, iHeart Media, these are local ones. Let's see, radio station. Sometimes you have to argue a little bit with Google. Lists of radio stations in the United States, Wikipedia. There's a list of radio stations in Florida. So you can then go in there and find, here's Gainesville, Florida. And I don't know if they connected to the station, I might.
Oh, smooth jazz, too cool. Ah.
Yep. And you can probably play it from there. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff with radio stations and old music. There's a lot of websites that you can find old music as well. Go back to public radio fan there. Anything else you got?
Yes, but I do have a comment for APCUG member groups who do not have HTTPS for their websites. You will eventually have that pop up when people put in your http dot blah blah www so on and so on. And I find that interesting that our tech clubs would not take the opportunity to go to Let's Encrypt and get a free SSL certificate, or check whoever hosts your webpage if they offer them. But like I said, over time, searching on Firefox, obviously, and Chrome, you're going to get the error message that the site's not secure. And I don't think we really want that.
Not to brag here, but here's our award-winning, from Ray DeCosta, our award-winning website that comes right on up with HTTPS, because Ray is right on top of these things. So there's our website. Upcoming meetings. We had our board meeting yesterday. Got a meeting with Ray Baxter coming up on the 18th, where he's coming down in person to do that one. And we have a picnic coming up, and there's a few more go up there shortly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we do have that set up so that we're safe and sound there.
Right. So everybody else that's here, please check your website and see if you can, talk somebody into an SSL certificate. NASA.gov, that is always a wonderful site to go to.
What is that one? NASA?
NASA.gov.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, I've used many NASA videos over time for these presentations. That pops up frequently on my normal rolling through the web. Yeah, the nice thing about what I've decided to do here in putting these presentations together is that there's a limitless amount of material for me to draw from. when you got trillions of billions and trillions of websites, it's just there's no end to what the stuff I can find. You know, it's amazing, kind of amazing. But like I say, if you just look at the list, you know, if I'm bored, I got these lists of things there. Silk International, here's a interactive art. This is another one of those that's
There you go.
not a silk. They draw something. So if I just move the cursor around the screen, I can do something like that. I can go into colors. I'm going to change it over to red here now.
It's like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, you're building your own kaleidoscope. And so you can save these when you're done with them and then show people how artistic you are. And this one is just called Silk.
Wow.
Notice I've just moved my mouse, press the button, move my mouse a little bit, and I end up with this. Then I can go and change it to another color. Stick one in the middle. And I'm an artist, by golly.
You certainly are. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Weavesilk.com, W-E-A-V-E silk.com. In case you want to make a note of that one. I've used this in the past in my programs here. I call them special topics here at the Prescott Computer Society. That's my every other month presentation. Weave Silk. All right, well, it's 10:50. Anything else going on, or is it 10:50 here?
Well, I have a bunch of websites here for people to look at. In fact, I have 13 now, so they've started putting them in. You guys are doing websites better than you did submitting photos for the Taking Better Pictures presentation. A little dig there, but
make sure I get all of it.
You will get all of these in the follow-up email, and have time to look at them yourself. Some of them really look interesting.
All right, good. I will use some of those in my future programs, I suspect.
And JV is on our Speakers Bureau list. He is giving presentations to groups in Ohio this month. I believe you've given one to the Booters.
Yes, I didn't. I still have to look on my email, but I didn't see that I was on that list for the Ohio one until we got online here today.
Yeah, I sent you 2 emails, one about both of the Ohio groups.
Okay, I'll go take a look because I've been getting behind on my email because I've been involved in other groups.
These came to you in March.
Okay. Oh, in March.
Yeah.
Okay.
So March or February.
Okay.
Which is
All
why
right.
we miss things like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, look on the Speakers Bureau and book JB for one of your meetings. You never know what he will talk about.
Yeah.
And you also gave one to the Madison group, didn't you?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, JB. This was just fun. You know, how many Wednesday workshops can you go to, or meetings you can go to at your own club and say, hey, this was just interesting and fun. I should have had some popcorn to go along with it, depending upon what, time zone you're in. And I loved being able to see James Anderson. He's down at the bottom of my film strip, and love to see him laugh at some of the things that I was laughing at the same thing, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Over to you, Mr. Kennedy.
Well, no, we're going to go up to Kurt because Kurt's got his hand up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you touched on something that I'm kind of sensitive about, and that's security. I love Let's Encrypt, okay? If your hosting company supports it. It's a wonderful service. We owe a lot to its developer. But there's something even better if your hosting company supports it. And many shared hosting accounts use cPanel. And cPanel now is their own certificate authority. And it's even easier to use than Let's Encrypt if your hosting company supports it. A few years ago, I took and I moved all of my accounts, my account, and all of my clients' accounts, and that's plural, from one hosting company to another simply because the old one refused to support Let's Encrypt.
And it's with cPanel. Does it last forever? Jim Evans, when it became APCUG2.org, did Let's Encrypt, and we have it forever. And
well, actually, you don't. One of the things with security is a short certificate is better than a long one, because certificates very frequently cannot get revoked once they're issued. So both cPanel and Let's Encrypt use 90-day certificates, and they check twice a day to see if there's a certificate that's going to expire within 30 days. And so on a 60-day cycle, they regenerate certificates. So it acts like it's forever. Okay, they don't cost anything, and they actually work better than that. So if your hosting company supports it, okay, it's really easy with cPanel. Okay, and Let's Encrypt, because of the nature of its verification, creates a few real ugly subdirectories and files in your system that aren't necessary with cPanel, with cPanel's implementation. One other thing, just because you have your site enabled to run secure doesn't mean it runs secure. And there's a fairly simple way in a file called htaccess, and if you're running websites, you ought to know what that is. But there is a way to take any request that comes to your site that asks for HTTP, refuse it, send a code back saying it's been permanently moved to HTTPS, and then the browser comes back to that, and you see it secure all the time. Off soapbox.
Kurt, what am I going to ask you to do?
That's not enough for a presentation.
No, just write it up for me, okay? Because I keep telling our hosted websites, Let's Encrypt. And when I look at that, that would be, it seems very complicated. And you're saying cPanel is great. So just about cPanel and how easy it is and stuff like that. So they get a little overview of what it is, and I can learn about it, and then I can recommend that when I'm asked instead
I'll see what I can do.
Encrypt. Thank you
promises.
so much. No, what?
No promises.
Oh, remember, I know where you live. Anyway, over to John Kennedy to tap dance us off. And John, you know, look at all that. We didn't hear you coughing. We didn't hear your nose running. Way cool.
And I had a whole bunch of Hall's cough drops too. It's been great. This has been a good way to start out the summer with some really fun websites. And when you get your follow-up material, you'll get those links that I can't wait for to go and check on those. I'm amazed about that working outside. There's a couple that I couldn't even really watch when they were up there. We'll be back next week with our Learning Linux workshop. And I don't know about anything after that. We had one we were hoping for, but it's just not been confirmed. So watch your emails. If you're not getting the emails from your officers, make sure you let them know, hey, wasn't I supposed to get an email about registering for Wednesday workshops? And then we'll do this again. Judy?
Well, everybody that's here gets their very own email, but I did get a thing in the chat mentioning that unsubscribe down at the bottom of the MailChimp email that I send out. My recommendation that I talk about at the top of the MailChimp is delete that before you send it to your members, because your member might say, you know, I'm really not interested in being part of the Wednesday workshop, folks, and unsubscribe. And that unsubscribes you, whoever forwarded it. Apparently that happened. And that happens all the time. and I get a little notice from MailChimp that says somebody that I know is a regular Wednesday workshop person has unsubscribed. So then I have to get in touch with that person and say, did you unsubscribe? And they go, no. They have to take the time to click on a link and resubscribe themselves. So save yourself some time and energy, and remember, forwarding it, just delete the unsubscribe information in the footer, so to speak.
And I suggest that you take the paragraph at the top that says, thank you for forwarding this to your members, because that's what you're doing. You're forwarding to the members. You don't need to take that part on. All right. So everybody have a good rest of your week. Those in the Midwest are sending storms to the east. Those in the Southeast are getting storms. So we hope your day turns out to be a good one. And we'll see you at the next Wednesday workshop.
Thanks for coming, and thank you again, JB. That was fun.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.